Hey, Joe. We still have a couple of minutes. Bobby, how are you? About 1 minute. Hi, John. Good evening and welcome to the Laurel Board of Trade Candidate Forum. My name is Bob Mignon and I serve as the president of the Laurel Board of Trade. Our moderator for this evening will be Pamela Hunter. She's sitting right here. Pamela is the interim director of the Civil Division of the Superior Court of the District Courts of the District of Columbia. It's a mouthful. I'd also like to recognize Carl Dupree over here, and he is an interpreter for those of our audience that are hearing impaired. We also have with us Denise Redmond of Denise Redmond Realty and Sharon Mitchell, both of whom are with the Laurel Women's Club, and both live outside the city limits and will be helping sort council chamber audience questions as well as text message questions from our television audience. For those of you who do not know, the Women's Club of Laurel was very active in getting women the right to vote, and they will be celebrating their 110th anniversary next year. So a little bit of history here in Laurel. Additionally, we have several board members of the Laurel Board of Trade here this evening. Our chairman, Jim Cross, you stand. Our treasurer, Jan Abel, if you could stand, please, Jan. Former chairman of the Laurel Board of Trade, Matthew Coates, if you could stand up, please. And he's owner of Photography by Madison. Maureen Rogers, who's our administrative coordinator, and also known as Miss Main Street Festival, and Miss Main Street Festival and Laurel Mill Playhouse as well. John Donahue from CNR Insurance, Marilyn Johnson of Marilyn Johnson Design Studio, Karen Shambari from the soon-to-open Salt Room here on Main Street, and Franz Ultima from PNC Bank here. As a disclaimer, we have two candidates, Thomas Matthews and Jeff Mills, that are members of the Laurel Board of Trade. No candidate has any prior knowledge of the questions, and as a nonprofit 501c, the Laurel Board of Trade endorses no candidate. We are using the League of Women Voters protocols for asking the candidate questions so to eliminate any bias. As stated earlier, the Laurel Women's Club will be organizing the questions submitted by our council chamber audience as well as the audience at home. I would also like to request that everybody in the chamber silence their cell phones now so that no one is disturbed during the forum. We have a lot of ground to cover tonight, but first I'd like to thank the City of Laurel, Laurel TV, for televising tonight's event. Additionally, I'd like to thank the Laurel Board of Trade for its role in organizing this evening's events and tell you a little bit about the Laurel Board of Trade. The Board of Trade membership is composed mostly of Laurel-based businesses and has as its mission to further business and economic growth within the city of Laurel. Some of the events we sponsor to help keep bringing this about are the Main Street Festival, which brings over 50,000 people to Laurel on the day of the Main Street Festival. We also in August sponsor a back-to-school evening where we have backpacks. We distribute backpacks and school supplies to Laurel area school children. A Riverfest Family Fun Day, which is intended to showcase our beautiful riverfront park. We have various business forums throughout the year, and one of my personal favorites is the coming up this Thursday, October 24th, which is Trick or Treat on Main Street, where literally hundreds of children, accompanied by their parents, visit the Main Street businesses for a treat, and maybe a trick in some situations. With this said, let me outline some ground rules for tonight's questioning. Each candidate will begin with a 2-minute opening statement. The opening statement should address why the candidate is running for office and the 3 top priorities for your term in office. We will then go into questions that Pamela Hunter will ask each candidate, and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to those questions and 30 seconds should there be a need for a follow-up or a rebuttal. The candidates will be able to see Jim Cross, who will signal them as to how much time they have left. A goldenrod piece of paper means you have 15 seconds remaining, and a red sheet of paper means your time's expired. The candidates are seated in alphabetical order on the dais, and they have drawn numbers which appear below their name. Opening statements will be given in order by number 1 to 4. Closing statements will be given in order from number 4 to 1. The questions will be asked in random order, thus giving everybody the opportunity to be the first to answer a specific question. We will start the questioning with some pre-selected questions, and then we will be asking questions from the audience. Please find blank cards and pencils on your chair for you to write your questions. For those watching on TV, we have set up a special cell phone number for you to text your questions. That number is 301-346-5926. That's 301-346-5926. Questions will be reviewed for appropriate language, and we may not have enough time to get to everyone's question. Also, at 8 o'clock, we will have a break for the restrooms. After all questioning is complete, each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. We also have some refreshments out in the lobby of the chamber, and we encourage candidates and voters to gather there for further conversations. The candidates for Ward 1 and Ward 2 have uncontested races. Thus, they will be your representatives automatically. These candidates have been invited to the forum as members of the audience. Please stand as I call your name. They are Ward 1 Councilman Michael Les. And we can have applause for this. Carl DeWall, Councilman Carl DeWall. From Ward 2, we have Councilman Keith Sidner. And I don't see Brensis Smith here. I guess no one else does either. But Brensis will be a representative on the council from Ward 2. The candidates from Ward 1 and Ward 2 have agreed to be with us tonight and will be available after the program to answer any questions you may have. We have 4 candidates running for 2 positions. 2 candidates are running for the position of mayor, and 2 candidates are running for the position of at-large council member. Remember, if you are registered to vote in Prince George's County and live in the city of Laurel, you are automatically registered to vote in the city. Early voting is Saturday, November 2nd from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the Laurel Municipal Center. Election day is Tuesday, November 5th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Registered voters reside in either Ward 1 or Ward 2. You will be voting for 2 council persons representing your ward, as well as an at-large council person and a candidate for mayor. The polling location for Ward 1 residents to is City Hall, and the polling location for Ward 2 residents is the Robert DePietro Community Center on Cypress Street. I would now like each candidate to stand as I call your name. Please, no applause for this part. The candidates for mayor are Jeffrey Mills, Craig Moe. The candidates for at-large are Tommy Matthews and Valerie Nicholas. Thank you, and please be seated. I would now like to turn the questioning over to Pamela Hunter.
Good evening, everyone. We will begin with the 2-minute opening statements, and we will start with our candidate, Ms. Valerie Nicholas.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to first thank the Laurel Board of Trade and the Women's Club of Laurel for hosting this forum. My name is Valerie Nicholas, and I am running for re-election on the Laurel City Council. My promise and commitment is to continue to provide great service to our residents. I look forward to working with our new police chief in expanding our community outreach. I'd also like to continue with our youth services and services for our seniors. Being on the council for the last 8 years, I will continue to make myself available, make myself very visible and dedicated to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nicholas. I want to remind the candidates to speak into the microphone so that everyone can hear your responses. We will now have an opening statement from Mr. Moe.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you to the Laurel Board of Trade and the Laurel Women's Club for hosting tonight's event. I've been a volunteer and a citizen advocate for Prince George's County and the City of Laurel for well over 35 years. Joining the Laurel Volunteer Fire Department in 1976, worked for the state of Maryland for 31 and a half years, retiring in 2018. I served 12 years on the Laurel City Council and am currently serving my 4th term as mayor. I'm a candidate for this election because I bring trusted leadership, proven experience, and new energy for the challenges facing the city, such as public safety staffing and resources, creating job opportunities, safe and clean neighborhoods, investing in infrastructure, and maintaining a high level of services to the community without raising taxes. As a proven municipal leader, I have a record of accomplishments. I bring people together and groups together and work on issues and build consensus to solve problems. That's why last week I received the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 11 endorsement, and I thank them for that. I pledge to all residents I will work diligently tackling the issues facing the city by working together in partnership with members of the City Council and the community. Working together, we can ensure city government provides the services and programs that are most needed in the city and will make our city even better. Accountability of your tax dollars, cutting government waste, keeping fees and program costs down so it's affordable for all is a promise. My promise to you. Your government must be open, transparent, and set the example of the highest ethical standards in government, and I will accept nothing less. We have been asked to provide our 3 top priorities for our term of office. I offer the following: provide prudent and responsible budget for your tax dollars, work to provide affordable housing opportunities, and invest in green technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moe. We will now have an opening statement by Mr. Mills.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Laurel Board of Trade, in which I'm a member, and the Women's Club. Definitely a very successful Women's Club. I definitely would like to first give honor to God for even making it here. I'm talking to you, you're seeing a person who actually fell through a bridge and still here at 495. So I first like to give honor to God. Secondly, I'm a family member and a business owner. I've actually owned 2 businesses, very successful. And I want to definitely say that to the citizens of Laurel that I'm here to represent you. And I'm here for the fight. I'm here to fight for you. I'm here to fight tonight. And as you see me out and about throughout the community, I'm there morning time, I'm there daytime. I'm on Main Street. I am Main Street. And I represent Main Street. I represent you as a voice. And I want to bring your voice to the city. And I'd like to fight for you again because I'm a fighter. and I'm a winner. And tonight and on November 5th, we will see who will be the winner. I don't give promises. I just do. I'm not for a lot of talk, and I'm just for action. That action is for you. Whatever you need, whatever you want, I'm here for you, and I'm here to represent you. I'm not here to raise your taxes. I'm not here to represent you in any falsehood. I'm just here to do the great work that we can do together. I'm Jeffrey Mills, and I'm running for mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Mr. Matthews.
Good evening. First, I would like to thank the Laurel Board of Trade, certainly the Laurel Women's Club, and you, the citizens of Laurel, for coming out. My name is Thomas Matthews. I am your best candidate for the at-large seat. I am a Laurel native, a lifelong resident of the City of Laurel for 58 years. I've been a long-time community activist and advocate for the Laurel Grove community. Currently, I serve as the commander of the American Legion Post 235 in Beltsville, Maryland, serving veterans who have served in the U.S. military. The reason why I'm running is because the government needs to change. The government has become stagnated. My top priorities are to address the red light camera program, to make sure its focus is on safety and not revenue, to provide a dedicated police officer on Main Street, to ensure that there's some accountability when it comes to hiring and promotion of city employees, to make sure that it's fair, not biased, that there's no favoritism, and that there's equal for everyone. And lastly, one that's real dear to me because our youth are under attack all across the nation, is to see that our city government helps to support our local Boys and Girls Club. Again, my name is Thomas Matthews. I am your best candidate for the at-large seat.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. We're going to stay with you for the first question, and then we will move down with the rest of the panel. What involvement, if any, should the City of Laurel have with the area secondary educational institutions?
I think when it comes to secondary education, City of Laurel should have much involvement with it because education is truly a priority. It should be a concern, should be a number one priority for any city government. So I believe as a city government or as a City of Laurel, we should have much involvement in the secondary education.
Mr. Mills, same question.
Thank you for the question. Well, as you know, what I do for a living is I teach for commercial drivers. And not only that, but I teach to help individuals have success in their lives. So as far as the education, in the budget, there's grants that we have in the budget to help with education. But a lot of money is drawn elsewhere from education. We have facilities that can be used to help with education within the Armory, the Petro Center, and also the historic Boys and Girls Club, which was the first high school in Prince George's County. There are several facilities, for several rooms in that building that are being used right now for education, but this city council is not adding funds to the Boys and Girls Club. So that's something that we need to help out with.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Mr. Moe?
I think it's important first that we keep our school board, our elected school board representative engaged in our school system, working with the city. I can tell you we had some concerns over that. We created, and Mayor and City Council created the Education Committee, Advisory Committee. We think that will help citizens in this area be involved with the education of their children even more by using them as a conduit between the committee here in Laurel as well as the school board. So we really do need to make sure that our school board rep is engaged. We also meet quarterly with our principals here as well, all of our principals, to keep them engaged in what's happening here in the city, and we can be involved with the school system as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mill. Ms. Nicholas, the same question.
Oh, yes, I too was going to say that we created the Education Advisory Committee. I definitely try to attend the principal breakfasts where we stay engaged with the principals to know what's going on with education, their innovative thinking, their ways, and what we can do to help them to provide assistance. Thank you.
Okay, next question.
Rebuttal, please.
Rebuttal, yes.
In the budget, the facility rentals and that line of facility rentals have earned over $100,000 in fiscal year 2018. But because of personal feelings, this council doesn't invest into the Boys and Girls Club, let alone the children that need the help. These city children need our help, but we have to invest. If you drove past the Boys and Girls Club, you keep your when you do a favor of God, you keep it suppressed. But I must say that when you drive past the Boys and Girls Club, you see a white bus. If you haven't seen it, it's sitting right there when you go past the Boys and Girls Club tonight. Like I said, I don't talk about it. It's done.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Let me remind the candidates that the rebuttals are 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Next question. We're going to start with you, Mr. Mills. In Howard County, the Stronach Group is building a 1,000 residential and commercial mixed-use development in North Laurel. What impacts do you see this having on the city of Laurel? How do you see our historic train station surviving?
It was 2 years ago when we were, me and Mr. Les, I was going against the at-large seat, and we sat right here, and I told you 2 years ago what was going on in Howard County and what was to be. I used to park my vehicles there. I was firsthand with these people, and as you go down there today, you see that the land is broken. The land is being developed as we speak, and the plans are. All you have to do is just ride down there and just go to the trailer and ask the developer there, what are the plans here? The plans are that they are building a brand new MARC train station, 1,000 residents and storefronts. And if that brand new MARC train is going to be developed there, of course, that train is going to be stopped there.
Time, Mr. Mills.
We should have been proactive. This council was stagnant, and I told you 2 years ago.
Thank you, Mr. Mills.
Thank you.
Same question, Mr. Moe.
Thank you. Not only it's going to be residential units, it's going to be a lot of office, and it's going to be some commercial space as well. I am very concerned about what is taking place there. We've been involved and expressed our views through their process. Their process is a little bit different from Laurel's. We have public hearings, we have planning commission. What went on over there, I'm not real happy and thrilled on how it took place. I can tell you that I'm very concerned that traffic is going to come down Route 1 to get to 95, and they're going to head up Main Street. We have traffic issues already on Route 1 and Main Street where there are speeding problems and backups and others. So there is concern. Plus with the track itself that is going to be redoing the track there as well. So we are continuing to talk, and we're trying to set up a meeting now with the MTA administrator as well.
Thank you. Ms. Nicholas, same question.
Thank you. It is my understanding that we have a commitment from the developer to keep it as a live stop. I know that that ends in 2020, and I know that right now we are in current discussions to keep that as a live stop as years pass. Thank you.
Mr. Matthews.
Certainly, that would have a large impact on traffic in the city of Laurel. I also think it would have probably a large impact on maybe crime in Laurel, because when you get more people coming into an area, there's possibility that we may have more crime in the city of Laurel.
Rebuttal.
30 seconds, please.
The renters that are over at the west side, Avery Place, these new apartments, they're military vets. So just picture this. If you are on 95 and you have access to the MARC train, in which you just go to Fort Meade or DC or Baltimore, they'll be moving from, a lot of people would be moving from these apartments and moving here in this area right here. So we're going to have problems with rent reducing because people are moving fast in
Mills,
droves.
Thank you so much. Next question, and we will start with Mr. Moe. The Patuxent Greens Golf Course development calls for 222 townhouses and 167 single-family homes, as well as many amenities. What impact will this development have on the current residents of the Patuxent Greens neighborhood and the residents of the city of Laurel?
Well, I think it's fair to say that nobody likes development in their backyard, and that's what's occurring over there. The golf course itself was sold to a developer. You're seeing that throughout the country with golf courses being sold off. We work with the developer. They could have came in and put over 400 and some units there. They cut that. He made a commitment not to do any apartments as well. They had to go through a process. And that process entailed going to federal, state, county, and local. And no permits were issued by the city of Laurel until all of those were met regarding those review processes. And again, a lot of this, I think what's happening there, you'll see where the water that comes off of 197 is flooding certain areas. That developer is going to have to correct all that and keep all water on the property as well.
Thank you.
Rebuttal.
30 seconds, please.
Certainly when canvassing the golf course community and talking to citizens of Laurel, they are very much upset with the way the Mayor Moe and his administration are handling that situation. And so Mr. Moe, he'll sit here this evening and have you believe that they didn't know anything about it, but Mr. Moe and his city administration or his council very well knew everything about it.
Ms. Nicholas, the same question.
Can
You
you
need
repeat?
to repeat?
Yes.
The Patuxent Greens Golf Course development calls for 222 townhouses and 167 single-family homes, as well as many amenities. What impact will this development have on the current residents of the Patuxent Greens neighborhood and the residents of the city of Laurel?
Well, I think the biggest issue that I hear from residents is traffic. I know that that's an issue, and I know that there are going to be some intersection improvements with the traffic signals to try to help manage the traffic better. And we will just continue to work with the developer and the city and the state highway to make sure that we can, minimize that as much as possible of an impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews?
Certainly, the development will have a major impact on traffic. And one of the concerns of the citizens when talking to them is the issue with the water. Will we be another Ellicott City?
Thank you. Mr. Mills?
Yes, the impact is going to be that the residents will be voting for Jeff Mills for mayor. That's the impact. And also, Mayor Moe says that nobody likes developers. Well, in the budget on line, Friends of Patuxent, they receive $25, but Moe has no friends in Patuxent Green because developers are able to do what they want. They are in Moe's pocket. 2 years ago, there was a flyer passed out when we were supporting him to run for county council. And there was a flyer that went out with the pictures of the developers that was in Moe or is in Moe's pocket. And such as if you ride up and down Route 1, you'll see that his signs are all stapled on the developer NAI Michael Corp. And the city administrator he comes from NAI Michael Corp.
Call time, Mr. Mills.
And he was the vice president of that company.
Thank you, Mr. Mills.
Thank you.
Rebuttal, 30 seconds, sir.
The $25 is a donation to a nonprofit organization. It has nothing to do with down at Patuxent, just so everyone's aware.
Thank you.
Rebuttal.
30 seconds, please.
That was just a pawn. I just wanted him to say something because the fact is he knows what's going on at Patuxent Green. And we all know if you were or live there and you were an investor of that property that you bought, and you know that this mayor did what he did and allowed what he allowed, that these developers came and did what they did, you would not be a friend of Mo. Vote Mills, Jeff Mills, November 5th.
Next question. Healthcare was greatly threatened 2 years ago in the Laurel area with a recommendation that Laurel Regional Hospital be closed. A healthcare facility will remain, however, it will be different from a full-service hospital. What role as a member of the city government would you take in ensuring that the Laurel area has first-class healthcare services? We're going to start with you, Ms. Nicholas.
Thank you. Well, as most of you all in the room know, I actually work at the Laurel Medical Center. I've seen a transition and I've seen a lot happen. The priority of the administration there is to make sure that we have it's going to be an ambulatory care facility. We currently have an observation unit that houses people, and we also have an emergency room. We have the wound care. We do not have the rehab there, nor do we have the outpatient. When you come to the emergency room, you'll be treated there. And if you need to be admitted, you'll be admitted. But if you require a higher level of care, then we have ProCare, which is an ambulance service that is right there to take you to whatever hospital you'll need to go to based on your diagnosis.
Mr. Mills?
Well, I'm glad, I'm glad that she admitted that she works there. While it was Laurel Regional, when they just closed on us, and the fact that they called themselves Team Laurel, where the team was just these council members along with the mayor. But what about the team? That's a big team right there. That's the majority. My dad always told me, he said, be loyalty to the majority. And she was on the council when the hospital closed. Mayor Mo admitted, and it's in black and white, that he had no idea that it closed. How in the world do you have someone who sits right beside you and don't tell you anything? That's incorrect. That's not a team. That's like she's spelling team, or they spell team with an I. We spell team with all of us together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Rebuttal, 30 seconds, please.
Just to be clear, I do work at Laurel Medical Center, and I had to recuse myself of all decision-making, when it comes before the council. I believe it was on July 31st, a couple of years ago, when they made the announcement, the president of the hospital, that they were transitioning. I was in tears along with everybody else on staff in the hospital because we did not know. I am not included in any discussions with the council, with the city, or anyone as it relates to the hospital because it is a direct conflict of interest for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nicholas.
Rebuttal.
Mr. Matthews,
Rebuttal.
it's your turn to respond also, sir.
Certainly, we want to continue to see the Laurel Regional Hospital provide the service to the city residents. But just to add with what Mills have said, there's no way that you can be a mayor of a city. And at the time, we hear that Ms. Nicholas says that she was unaware of it. At the time, also, you had your city council president, Fred Smalls, who sits on the board of directors for the city regional hospital. So you cannot tell me tonight that they did not know anything about the Laurel Regional Hospital.
Thank you. Mr. Mo,
Rebuttal.
30 seconds, please.
With the point of your council members or council member in tears, but not sharing those tears with the council. I mean, hey, this was bigger than a closed mouth. This put us at risk as far as safety, to having to not go to Laurel where it is right here in our community, but now we have to go far out for safety.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Mr. Mo?
Thank you very much. I'm not sure what papers everybody is reading and quoting, but they've lost me in their discussions. Maybe that's because they weren't involved at all during the process. I will say that I am convinced that that hospital would have been closed and the property would have been sold off. I think what saved it is the people in this room, the community coming together, all of the elected officials working hand in hand for many, many hours at a time and in years in some case. It's not everything we wanted. We're still continuing to work with the university and others regarding the campus, but what you'll see there is a medical campus, and that is due to the general public who really came out in force and showed support. Thank you.
30-second rebuttal.
Are we gonna
The
rebut everything back
the
in-
paper that I'm quoting is from the Laurel Leader, so you can just Google that. I mean, we're in the modern day time, and he actually said that the rug was swept under his feet.
Next question. And we're going to start with you, Mr. Matthews. As you know, we can experience severe weather events like huge snowstorms, tornadoes, and rain events that can cause tremendous upheavals in people's lives. Some people believe this is caused by global climate change. Do you believe the city is prepared for these events? And what specific ideas do you have to lessen the impact of these events on the citizens of Laurel?
Certainly, I believe that the city is equipped for that possibility. Certainly, as being being a member of the council, or being elected a member of the council, I think it's important to reach out to other municipalities, other counties, and see what in fact they are doing in a situation like this.
Ms. Nicholas? Yes. As you know, we can experience severe weather events like huge snowstorms, tornadoes, and rain events that can cause tremendous upheaval in people's lives. Some people believe this is caused by global climate change. Do you believe the city is prepared for these events? And what specific ideas do you have to lessen the impact of these events on the citizens of Laurel?
I think the city is well prepared. We have a great public works department, and we make sure that the budget is well funded for weather events such as, terrible snowstorms and things. We also keep our command center open, trying to keep the public informed and just, staying abreast of things. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moe?
Thank you. Yes, I think those that have lived in the city for a while know that the city is very prepared when any type of disaster. We've worked hard. We continue to work hard and learn all of those. And climate change, we did join the efforts to maintain the Paris Climate Agreement after the president took his action. So we are continuing here at the city to do our small part when we talk about climate change.
Thank you. Mr. Mills?
The DPW does a great job. I definitely want to say that. But it can be better. When it comes to the snow, with piling up the snow on the sidewalks and having our seniors, right on Main Street, having our seniors walk from the Selborne house down, used to be walking down to the meat market or to the banks, they would have to walk in the street. The equipment that's needed, let me just say, as far as the snow piled up on the sidewalks, there's what is called a sight distance. If you pull up to the stop sign and you can't see, that's a sight distance. So you call in DPW and you notify them that the snow needs to be removed. There was flooding several years ago when we had a terrible incident right back here where the homeless got injured and death was involved. And we have to use our facilities, and they were knocking on the doors to notify residents that they needed to move. They should have just.
We have to call time, Mr. Mills.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Next question, and we'll start with you, Mr. Mills.
All right.
Main Street as a business district has been struggling for many years. How do you envision Laurel attracting viable businesses on Main Street over the next 3 years?
We've been asking this question, like I mentioned, it's stagnant. We're asking this is the same question that pertains to Main Street. This is in a bad way, that it's been the same old thing for Main Street. You walk down to Main Street, they need painting, we have to have new ideas, and we have to put offer to the building owners some subsidies, something to give them a better approach as far as so we can upgrade Main Street. Just paint on the walls. Scraping Main Street looks terrible. We have to make Main Street look like the Main Street of Annapolis. Even Ellicott City was a nice Main Street, but our Main Street has been the same Main Street, and things just like they changed the water at the lake. The lake was stagnant.
Time, Mr. Mills.
This council is stagnant. We have to bring in new ideas for Main Street.
Mr. Matthews?
Certainly, as Mr. Mills said, we have to bring in new ideas. With new ideas, there comes different businesses that will probably come on Main Street.
Right.
Certainly, like as he said, also because it becomes stagnant, then Main Street. I've been in law 50 years, all my life, and I've never known Main Street to be vibrant. I think in years back they had jokes on us. I wonder what happened to it. I think the current administration, because they have been stagnant, that's the reason why we don't see the growth in Main Street.
Ms. Nicholas, same question.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yes. Main Street as a business district has been struggling for many years. How do you envision Laurel attracting viable businesses on Main Street over the next 3 years?
Okay. To date, since 2016, we've opened approximately 30 businesses. We have currently over $100,000 available in our economic development grant. We also offer relocation grants and signage grants that have been very effective, and I think that's been a big attraction to businesses to come to our Main Street area.
Thank you. Mr. Moe?
Yeah, the only thing stagnant in the room here is their answers. They're not even answering your questions. So the Main Street is a challenge for any government and for Laurel. But we have worked hard. We have grant programs that are in place. That's in place because the mayor and city council, the council in particular, have provided funding for those grants. We've had tax credit programs. And we've been designated a Maryland Main Street. There are all of those things that come together, but it requires the owners to work with the city. In some of those cases, it's very challenging. As you just heard from Councilwoman Nicholas, there has been activity on the street, but we lose some businesses as well. But I think we'll continue to work those avenues, and I think that we'll see some new businesses coming forward in the next several months.
Thank you. Next question.
Rebuttal, please.
30 seconds, please.
Main Street, I speak for Main Street. And Main Street, you can ask anyone on Main Street. Main Street has been the same for the 16 years that he's been here, and there's been no change. Yes, new programs, but no change. You must implement programs, but in implementing, we have to go down on Main Street. Not when the business opens up and you take a picture. No, you need to be on Main Street.
Thank you. Next question. We're going to start with you, Mr. Moe. The Laurel Town Center has been a great improvement over the final years of the previous mall. How can the city keep the success rate moving forward of attracting new anchor stores and more diverse businesses, not only to the town center, but to other retail areas like the Laurel Shopping Center?
Well, we have had discussions with Laurel Shopping Center. It would be nice to have the town center continue to grow. They're having some issues as well, bringing some storefronts in as well. I think we need to look at our grant program. We've talked about expanding that down the Route 1 corridor, and some tax incentives for working with the big shopping center malls, the management firms or the developers there. We've worked very well. If you go up past Cherry Lane, you'll see on the right-hand side, the Laurel Lake Shopping Center is all full. We worked with them regarding the Best Buy. So it requires a lot of different departments working with these stores that are trying to continue to grow. Brick and mortar is going to be very difficult in years to come when we talk about storefronts.
Thank you. Mr. Mills, same question.
Big box stores are of the past. I just hate to say it, this is the time that we're in. And he used the term Best Buy. That store, it's not growing, it's downsizing. And so you have to have innovative ideas. How about making it feasible for some of the smaller businesses to perhaps move into these bigger locations for a chance of opportunity of growing? But when you have fish in a small bowl, they don't grow. But if you put them in a larger tank, the fish would grow. The businesses would grow. So we the big box stores are stores of the past. We have to come with innovative ideas.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews?
Yeah, I think we have to continue to reach out to businesses to see if they can, in fact, come and open up business in the city, in the town center. I know one for me is I'm a mortician by trade. I got 30-some years as a mortician. I love to be able to go to the town center and grab a nice suit, grab a nice pair of slacks. So I think it's important that we keep reaching out to various businesses to see if they, again, can be a part of the Laurel Town Center.
That's a relief. I thought he was going to say he was going to look for customers. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Pardon me, I couldn't resist. Sorry. Let me regain. Sorry. Ms. Nicholas, same question.
I'd like to just echo the mayor. I think if we offer tax incentives and as we expand the relocation grant program, I think that'll be very attractive to businesses.
Thank you. Next question.
Rebuttal, please.
Sure, 30 seconds.
This council been offering tax incentives. Come on, man. You can't do the same old play. You can't win the game that way. You got to come with new plays, new plans, and new innovation, new people.
Thank you. Next question. We're going to start with you, Mr. Mills. What types of programs will you help formulate to encourage newly arriving residents to Laurel get involved with the city?
One more time, something. Drop.
Yes. What types of programs will you help formulate to encourage newly arriving residents to Laurel get involved with the city?
Well, my platform pertains to safety. Safety has to be our number one issue. And right now, we had a meeting just a couple weeks ago with the FOP, large F11, and this plan of safety has to be reached out. We have to be on the same page. Something simple as, 1,000 houses or over 1,000 that we done knocked on have been the doorbell cameras. And these doorbell cameras, I presented that the Laurel Police have an app that we can just send our information into the Laurel Police so that we can give them leads. And our program, that neighborhood watch program that we should be all a part of, that has to be our number one play, because safety is first.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews, same question.
Certainly, echo what Mr. Mills said, safety in regards to policing. I think we need to get back to the old way, community policing. We had a while back, maybe 20-some years, we had a community officer, police officer in the Laurel Grove community. It worked good. We had a homework club in there. Residents came in, they volunteered, and they helped make our community stronger. So I think it's important that we certainly offer some type of community policing committee to get new citizens involved.
Thank you, Ms. Matthews. Ms. Nicholas.
Mm-hmm. Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. What types of programs will you help formulate to encourage newly arriving residents to Laurel get involved with the city?
I would first invite these new residents to come to council meetings to learn more about the city. I would also offer them volunteer opportunities. I would introduce them to our new police chief and get them involved in their outreach as we reach with our community policing, as we reach out and expand our community services.
Thank you. Mr. Moe?
Yeah, I think it's important. We do a welcome pack to new residents. I think we try to have meet and greets or welcoming times where people can come and learn about the city. But I think to get them involved, we really got to tell the story, and that's about what we have to offer here. We've got great parks. We've got great historical buildings. We've got places. We have our own museum. We've got all of these things that we really need to boast about and talk about. And I think that really gets people involved in their community. It gets them involved in their government.
Thank you. Next question, we're going to stay with you, Mr. Moe. The Laurel community has a substantial homeless population. What are your plans to help the homeless population?
We put together a task force, created a task force to look at our homelessness. It's been a while since it's been updated. We have a lot of homeless that come in from other parts of the community, not necessarily from the city. So we needed to get an accurate count as much as possible on our homelessness. We also need to see the services that they need. And with that said, we've been able to secure funding from the state for planning of a multi-service center, which will, we believe, help the homelessness, help the churches that do a lot of work in the community, such as Winter Haven and others. So that's where we're heading. That's what we're trying to accomplish, but it requires everybody working together.
Thank you. Mr. Mills?
First, we have to care about the homeless. We know that the homeless are out there, but do you care about them? That's the key issue. You can have programs, but if you're not, we tore down. Well, let me not say we, because I'm not a part of that. We that tore down a building so they can have a sell cannabis. We should have tore down the building and build a homeless shelter, but we let the developers do what they want to do around here. Now, again, we have to care about the homeless. If we're feeding the homeless, they're not going far. So we know that the homeless are staying in the tent city. That's what they call it, tent city. Now, but we know they were there, but we didn't save them when we had the flood, when they said they were releasing the levees. You know they were there, but it was nighttime. I'm not scared to go in the dark. You want 100 sheep or one lion?
Time, Mr. Mills. Ms. Nicholas?
Repeat the question, please.
Sure. The Laurel community has a substantial homeless population. What are your plans to help the homeless population?
As most of you all know, I do feed the homeless every day. I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I prepare meals, fresh meals that I serve with hygiene bags to them. In addition to that, I provide transportation to the Department of Social Services and to LARS. I'm currently working with the Department of Social Services now with grants to provide housing. We have referrals that we're making now to the veterans. We have a point person there at the Veterans, Maryland Veterans Government to help us with some of the veterans that are homeless on the street. It's a continued problem. It's across the state of Maryland. I know Governor Hogan has provided, I believe it's about $53 million for nonprofits that's distributed throughout the state. It's ongoing. There's not really a one word or one paragraph solution. We just have to continue to work at it to improve. I do have quite a few success stories from some of the families that I've helped that have either been living in tents or either staying at the hotels. On average, you've got eight or nine people family that's living in one room. So we've worked to successfully move some of those, and we're continuing to work with the state to get those done.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews?
Yeah, I think we have to continue to tap into all the resources at the county, state, and federal level when it comes to homelessness. My church, which is St. Mark's United Methodist Church in Laurel, we participate in a homeless shelter for the winter months. We have to do more programs like that to see that we're taking care of our homeless.
Rebuttal, please. If we built a homeless shelter, this would provide jobs. It would provide shelter, food and clothing. We have people that will donate food, donate clothing. Miss Nicholas, I guess she's feeding them from her house. But how do her neighbors feel about having the homeless coming into her neighborhood? I don't.
Time.
Just to be clear, Mr. Mills, they do not come to my house. I deliver to about 5 different locations in the city in my small SUV. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you. We're
that's
going to
good.
stay with you for the next question, Ms. Nicholas. The Laurel Racetrack is a huge economic engine for the area surrounding it. The track is located in Anne Arundel County. What could you do as a member of city government to encourage more economic synergy with the Laurel community?
Well, I did a lot of biggest thing, and my biggest having it so it's that's really my concern. I know it's going to be a number of apartments and it's homes. I really want to not having it having traffic.
Thank you, Mr. Moe.
Actually, attended a meeting there last night with the county executive from Anne Arundel County regarding the track. There are 2 different things. There's the racetrack that is being redeveloped, and then there is the piece in Howard County when we talk about we talked about earlier. I think once the track decides what they're going to decide to do, you may see some spinoff. And I look at the I look at the 198 corridor where there could be some spinoff. They've been waiting to see what the track is going to do to make some larger investments in their properties. We hope to work with them as the city, but also with that comes, as you heard, other issues got to be dealt with, traffic and other things. So we need to make sure that mass transit and all those things to move people in and around the city are in place as well.
Thank you. Mr. Mills?
Over 100 million has been broken up for the Laurel racetrack and for Pimlico from the state of Maryland. And the racetrack has already invested over $10 million in them. Now they got more money for upgrades. And so the traffic that we're getting ready to face, and especially when they continue with the Howard County side, we have to be proactive about it. We have to foresee what's to come. As we're talking about it now, we need ideas and your opinions to better the issue, because this issue is for all of us. So we're going to have to put a plan together, not just for the council, but at the city hall meetings, and all of us have to put this idea together as far as expansion, perhaps for 198 or for Route 1.
Time, Mr. Mills.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews?
Certainly the things that's going on at Laurel Racetrack, the Stonic Group has already pretty much said what they're going to do with the Laurel Racetrack. So, I mean, there's going to be, like you say, it's going to affect us traffic-wise. But when you start bringing in, because I'm a horse fan, when you start bringing in the Maryland Million Day, the Breeders' Cup, and then the International, they also could be a good side for us because that would be revenue coming into our city. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. We've reached the point where we're going to take a brief 10-minute break, and then we will
Break. I want to make a correction. It has to do with early voting. Early voting, Kim Rao texted me to say that I misspoke. It's going to be November 2nd. It is at City Hall. That's a Saturday. Begins at 8 a.m. and it closes at 5 p.m. I had said a later time, but it actually closes at 5 p.m. So that's a correction. And also, I'd like to remind everybody there are postcards and pencils where you can ask questions. And Marilyn Johnson, where's Marilyn? Over here. She will be glad to take those questions from you. And now it's time for a break. The lavatories are through the doors and to the left. And we'll resume back here at 10 after 8. Could everyone be seated, please? We're about to begin again. Please be seated.
Yeah, let's see. Oh.
Everybody ready? We're ready to begin. I'd like to bring Pamela up once again, and we're going to begin the questioning.
Before we begin, I want to raise a point of clarification regarding rebuttals. So we're going to ask each candidate to allow the other candidates to respond as you are answering the same questions, and then we will entertain rebuttals. And we also want to remind you to keep the time and time restrictions in mind as you respond, particularly to the rebuttals. Are we ready to begin? Second round?
Yes.
Great. So we're going to start with you, Mr. Moe. How is the city doing? What is the city doing well for the community? And what do you see are the city's unresolved problems?
I think the city's doing very well. We have a very good mayor and city council that work hard for their residents. We got a hard and dedicated city staff that Monday through Friday. I'd like to tell you that's the only time they work, but most of them are around the clock, do an outstanding job. We are putting other things into place, such as our new organic recycling program, which has turned out very well, and a good response from the public. There's always room for an improvement. I think our city services are very, very well received, but it all takes money, it takes people, and it's very difficult at times to juggle all of those different things when we talk about staffing and resources and money. So if there's one thing that needs to be taken a good look at, that's going to be where I'd look at the most.
Thank you. Mr. Mills, same question.
Right on line in the budget here. This is the capital budget for 2019. And online says legal services, litigation, and legal review, which that line is costs us a lot. It costs us $280,000. And we also have a problem that they're not talking about as far as from the Laurel Police Department, in which we had a meeting that says right here in the Laurel Leader, October 3rd, and that was closed to the public. And there, they voiced their opinions about it's a revolving door at the Laurel Police Department. Why are they leaving was the question that they asked. The Laurel Police Department asked us, why do we feel that the Laurel Police are leaving? We have a problem that they're not talking about.
Time, Mr. Mills. Mr. Matthews?
Certainly overall, I think the city is probably doing a good job. But one thing for me, there's three issues. Certainly what Mr. Mills touched on when we met with the FOP Lodge 11, one of the concerns is the treatment of where their benefits are, their pay. And at one time, Laurel Police Department used to be at the top with pay. Now we're in the middle. So certainly taking care of the police department is certainly an issue. Also for me, the treatment of 80% African American Law and Boys Girls Club is an issue for me because during this whole entire administration with Mayor Moe and the city council, not once have anybody cared to walk into the Law Boys and Girls Club and listen to some issues and concerns. Now we know our youth are being attacked all over the nation. All over the nation. Right now, we have a national.
We have to call time, Mr. Matthews. Ms. Nicholas?
Yes, I think we have a great administration here. We have not raised taxes. One of the issues that I will continue to look at is our parking issue around the city.
Thank you. Rebuttal, 30 seconds, please.
So you hear Ms. Nicholas talk about we have a great administration here. I have you know that Ms. Nichols, when you look on her on the city webpage, her bio, she has this long bio about her being elected to the city council in 2011. In fact, it makes a mention to like she's bragging because she's undefeated. But I have you to know that as a councilwoman for Ward 1, as I said, Ms. Nicholas has let one time visit the Law Boys and Girls Club.
All right.
Rebuttal, please.
30 seconds, please.
I wrote a list of problems, and police are unhappy, and they're leaving us, the Laurel citizens, unsafe. Why? Seniors are being charged for van rides where they barely can pay their bills. Why? $3.5 million in revenue from red light cameras, but our infrastructure and landscapes look horrible. Why? Seniors, citizens are being charged for a Laurel TV membership when public access is free. Why? Problems.
Yeah,
Time.
Laurel TV, what he's talking about, you don't know how to read the budget. That has nothing to do with memberships to there. That is for people that want to advertise. The Laurel Boys and Girls Club, I guess that's going to be the focus of tonight for them. They know and they are fully aware that they can call my office anytime. We have discussed, they have not approached me in over 3 years, and we have left them alone. They can put in just like anybody else for grants, and they have not done so yet.
Okay, time. Next question.
Rebuttal,
Next
rebuttal,
question. We're moving on to the next
rebuttal,
question.
rebuttal,
Moving
ma'am.
on, gentlemen.
When he said
Gentlemen, respectfully, we are moving on to the next question. We have several more questions to get to, including questions from our listeners and the audience. Thank you very much for understanding. Question.
Well,
We're starting with you, Mr. Mills.
All right.
What are the
'Cause I
key
know.
challenges or opportunities you believe we will face in the city in the next 2 years?
The problem, again, I'm going back to problems, and this issue is our Laurel police. The mayor, he mentioned about the Laurel TV. You know, I play a game called chess. I guess he plays checkers. And the situation about the police, that's why it's number one on my list, but he did not go to that. The police are leaving us. That's why it was a closed meeting. I'm bringing it to the forefront. This is our number one issue. If we're unsafe, then we have a problem. So therefore, we have to work and give the police what they want and what they need.
Mr. Matthews, same question.
Certainly, safety is a concern all over the nation, as it is here in Laurel City. And as we've been saying since the meeting with the FOP, there's a lot of concerns with their benefits, with their pay, with their health care. I think the present administration is not being fair to this department when it comes to taking care of those who take care of us.
Ms. Nicholas, same question.
Honestly, I think, we have to continue to look closely at our parking issue around the city, and also affordable housing would be the top two for me at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Mel?
I'm not sure what the question, but I do need to respond because I think they're jeopardizing the Laurel Police Department. First off, they're a fraternal organization. That is their meeting. That has nothing to do with city government, open government, or anything else. It is a fraternal organization. We have police officers that have left. We just swore another one in today. We'll be swearing another one in next week. We swore in 5 last week. Everybody's going after the same pool when we talk about police officers, and you need to be very careful of the officers you bring in. The benefits that everybody keeps talking about, and so I guess whoever's feeding you the information needs to understand it as well. There is a contract that is negotiated between management and the Fraternal Order of Police, and it's agreed upon, and then it is ratified by the mayor and city council. So those are the things that they did. There are negotiations coming up that may all change.
Next question. We're starting 30 seconds, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Moe makes reference to their a fraternity of a large. I'm a retired 639 Teamsters. So at any time in our meeting, we welcome in visitors to our meeting. So because they are FPO large fraternity, you still have an option of inviting the public or any guests into your meetings.
30 seconds.
Let me again just respond. They're well aware of this, and unfortunately, I guess because they didn't get the FOP endorsement. The FOP president was very clear. If you had questions, concerns, comments regarding how they were running their meeting, please contact them before the meeting.
30 seconds, please.
There is, again, a problem with our FOP, and we need innovative ideas to keep our FOP. Right now, there's a revolving door. With these newcomers coming on, there's a situation down in Dallas where a private police officer, and now he's facing murder because of the inexperiencedness that he encountered. And we don't want that same situation here.
Okay, time. Next question, please. We're going to start with you, Mr. Matthews. The Conterra community located to the south of Laurel has had a slow start in getting going. What impact do you see Conterra having on the Laurel area?
Certainly, the impact with traffic is going to be a major concern. When you start getting more people in the area, certainly the traffic issue is going to be a great concern. I know for myself, in driving track and trailer for Giant Food for so many years, and 95 always get backed up due to accidents or some kind of emergencies. So there's going to be more traffic coming through the City of Laurel, coming through Conterra, coming down 198. So certainly I would think the greatest impact would be traffic.
Ms. Nicholas.
Thank you. I think traffic may be a concern, but I also think with the ICC connector right there and you're in easy accessibility to major highways will reduce some of that impact.
Mr. Moe.
Yeah, I think we've been monitoring what goes on at Conterra. They've changed, as everyone knows. They were going to do a regional center. That has changed. It's now going to be a big town center. So there is some concerns with depending on what they do, and that is with traffic, moving people in and around the City of Laurel. Also with that comes community needs. We were just talking about homelessness. We were talking about services that need to be provided, recreational programs, all of those things that need to be taken care of as this development moves forward. And from the city's perspective, I think we need to, again, make sure that we're at their table communicating and letting them know our concerns.
And finally, Mr. Mills.
Well, I don't wish to be at their table. I wish to invite them to my table because as a community, we have leverage. There was an issue at the West Side Development where the developer, Strip Matter, wanted to, they sold the property as, or let me say Ryan Holmes sold the property as, right there where the Royal Farms is, that property was supposed to be commercial. And they couldn't sell, the builders, they couldn't sell the property to commercial builders because big box companies it's a thing of the past. So they wanted to change it to mixed use. And so this was something that our community had to come together and fight against because those they could have just put anything there. Mixed use means it's a long list of entities for mixed use. And so we came together and used our leverage to beat that. And we worked together with the developer.
Time, Mr. Mills.
Thank you.
Next question. We're starting with you, Ms. Nicholas. Do you see any issues in the Old Town section of Laurel that you would like to address?
I'd like to see more signage. One of the things I'd like to see is more signage down there. I'd also like to see pet stands there where you can have like the bags for pets if you're walking your dog. Maybe one more crosswalk. Thank you.
Mr. Moe? Sure. Do you see any issues in the Old Town section of Laurel that you would like to address?
Well, we are trying to address it. We're working with it. The federal government keeps telling us otherwise, and that is what's happening with cable TV and the wireless G5, where now antennas can be put up all over communities without a lot of input from local government. That regulation was changed at the federal level. So there is concerns there. There's concerns that these antennas are going to be put up in the historical district, and that concerns us greatly. We've tried to write some regulations to forbid that as much as possible, but the bottom line is we've been preempted by the federal government.
Mr. Mills?
Could you repeat that, please?
Do you see any issues in the Old Town section of Laurel that you would like to address?
I'd like to address the fact that there is buildings being torn down in what is supposed to be historic Laurel. And Mr. Moe is allowing these buildings to be torn down by the developer NAI Michael Corp. And building up new buildings. Now, you can see the signs, all you know, they're all right there. You can go through there and see it yourself. But if a area is considered historic, then, and we have a historic committee, I thought that there should be protection of the historic buildings and not being torn down. You can revitalize a building without tearing it down, and you keep the historicness. Thank you.
Mr. Matthews?
Certainly, I think when canvassing on Old Town Law, historical law, one of the issues that some of the residents or citizens were complaining about was the speed that cars travel on Main Street. That's an issue, especially for the seniors that's in the Shelbourne House, and maybe we should look at possibly getting some type speed cameras. Whatever we have to do to make that part of the community safe.
Thank you. For the next question, we're going to stay with you. Sure, 30-second rebuttal.
I find it interesting that his solution is speed cameras when he made a comment before that speed cameras were inappropriate and he wanted to check and balance of the money and all of that, like there's something going on there.
Next,
Rebuttal.
30 seconds, please.
There's $3.5 million in revenue from the red light camera tickets, but our infrastructure, again, and landscape is horrible. We have money this money can be used to upgrade Main Street. But where is it going is the question that we need to be asking. We can use this money right here to upgrade for education, upgrade for the police department, upgrade Main Street.
Time. 30 seconds, please.
You can't use speed camera money for that. State law requires it to be used for certain things. So you can't even use that type of funds for the projects he's even talking about.
We're going to go to the next question. We're going to go to the next question.
Well, he did say he was talking about me, correct?
I understand.
So this is we talking about the rebuttal.
I'm going to honor you.
I'll take 30 seconds,
and
ma'am.
then we're going to
30
go to
seconds.
the next question. Thank you,
I could have
sir.
been finished now. The fact that this money, he's saying can't, but he's doing a lot of can. In other areas, like this $269,000 that's going to the Laurel Volunteer Fire Department. Well, where's that money? Why this money can't be used to, at least half of it? But we have two lines on the budget of $134,800. Two lines. We can use part of that we have to have innovative ideas. Thank you.
Thank you,
So
Tom.
let me show.
Next question, starting with you, Mr. Matthews. Some businesses on Main Street have parking challenges. The Community Redevelopment Authority, also known as the CRA, has a parking lot near 6th Street that charges a fee during business hours in order to cover the parking lot maintenance fees. Is your position to continue this practice of charging fees, or do you have some different ideas on how to pay for the parking lot maintenance fees?
I think we have to reach out to the business owners on Main Street. I mean, we have to have a listen here to see what type of suggestions they may have in this issue. I think it's always good to want to charge to get money in, but I think we ought to go to the businesses on Main Street and have a community meeting and see what they are asking, see what they're looking for as to a solution to that problem.
Ms. Nicholas?
Thank you. To reduce the parking congestion on Main Street, there is a second parking lot that we're working on now that will provide 20 additional spaces. While I understand that will not solve the problem, but it's certainly a start.
Mr. Mo?
The Community Redevelopment Authority's independent group that makes decisions. We lease property back from them on the Quill property on Main Street. That is also, they did have some input from business and community leaders way back when. I don't know how long it's been now, but part of their thinking was that they wanted it for people that were coming to shop and support the street and not individual employees parking there all day long. And I think that was why they kept it so low as well.
Mr. Mills, finally.
We can't charge Main Street businesses and those customers that comes to those businesses. That's like asking at the town center, asking them to put meters up. It doesn't make sense for us to charge. We're already trying to bring customers there, and all we have to do is just have a better solution. We have to come together. My idea, this big old room right here can be a room full of building owners and business owners meeting together and having a forum so that we can pull our ideas together and have success.
Thank you. Next question. We're going to start with you, Ms. Nicholas. As an early mill town, the city of Laurel exists because of the Patuxent River. What specific steps would you take to improve the water quality of the Patuxent River and protect the river for future generations? Would you support the creation of a dedicated sustainability officer position for the town of Laurel to study, promote, and lead sustainability initiatives and programs? What do you believe are the environmental benefits of living in Laurel?
Well, for starters, I do believe in the water cleanup. We have quite a few cleanup crews here in the city, made up of members of the community. I believe in the environment. I believe that we are a member of the Washington Council of Governments, where they actually have these sustainability officers. While I'm not saying I would not support an officer, I would definitely be open to discussions for that. I think our environment is very important. I think keeping our water clean and the rivers clean helps. It cuts down on a lot of impact of health reasons and cleanliness for the air. Thank you.
Mr. Mo?
I think one of the benefits is that they can talk to their local elected officials and then be involved as well. We do have beautiful parks and open space. We are moving towards more environmentally friendly chemicals and things like that we are trying to phase out and go towards those types of environmental friendly. We have our bike and our walking paths. We have a great recycling program. We are in this process now of working with over 60 some organizations when we talk about Riverfront Park and the water, the Patuxent, and flooding, as well as the flow of the water, and working with them to better improve the quality of the water.
Thank you. Mr. Mills?
Global warming is real, and we have. I would suggest. Now, I wouldn't have an officer manning the river, but as a post. But to have an officer manning the river would have saved some lives when we had the flood. So anything that would save or can save lives, is a good idea. The recycling, there should be more information about the recycling. I think it should be, instead of a message board placed out, there should be some literature, at least on the My Laurel app. I didn't hear anybody mention that tonight, but we can actually add these type of things to the My Laurel app, and I would suggest that we have a good cleanup at the river.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews?
Certainly keeping environment clean and keeping water clean is importance to me. Certainly I always say that when you have community meetings, I'm always saying when you get people together, you'd be surprised what may come out of it. So when we have community meetings, community gatherings, we get input from the citizen, input from the people. There's always a solution.
And now we have received some questions from the audience and our listeners. We're going to start with you, Mr. Moe. Affordable housing is a regional crisis. What would you do to address this issue if elected? Those starting out or working in our restaurants, stores, and other local businesses, how do you propose affordable housing?
Currently, the city does have an affordable housing program. We have that is mainly geared towards the apartments. We have 3 of those, as I said, that are already have affordable housing. The problem is where we're at and where we're located. It's the market here. For a 1-bedroom apartment, $1,300 or $1,400 is not affordable for most. It is a regional problem. We are dealing with and working with the National League of Cities, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, as well as the Council of Governments. And we're looking at their best practices. I think we need to take a regional approach when we talk about affordable housing as well. You can't do something in Laurel and then down the street it'd be just the opposite. But we do have an affordable housing program in place. We're the only community that has such a policy. Prince George County doesn't even have their policy up yet.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews?
Certainly affordable housing is a concern all over the nation, and certainly will be no different here in the City of Laurel. I think we just have to continue to reach out to the sources that's available to us to try to see if we can get support and understanding of how we can have more affordable housing in the City of Laurel.
Mr. Mills?
Affordable housing, I have an affordable housing initiative where we can try and help those who are not vested into the City of Laurel. And what I mean by that is those who are living in apartments, giving them opportunities as far as education, as far as jobs, creating jobs. Like if we had, my dad said, son, you have 4 pockets. You learn to put money in every one of them. So we help individuals to create that, to have multiple streams of income in order to allow housing to be affordable. With the affordable initiative, those who are living in apartments, we want to pull them out of those apartments and try to give them some housing here in the area. When we knock and go door to door in these houses, a lot of homes, especially in the townhomes, they've been abandoned, foreclosed, and we want to fill those houses up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Nicholas, same question.
Thank you. Currently, we do have 3 apartment complexes that offer affordable housing. I know for any new apartment development that is constructed, it's 6% dedicated to those housing programs. As I work with people that are homeless or working jobs that are paying minimum wage, that's one of the issues that they're facing, is they can't afford the apartments. I've had discussions on the state level about affordable housing and the formula that is used, because that's done at the state level. So we're continuing to look at that. I am also a member of the National League of Cities, the Human Development Committee, and there's broad discussions about this affordable housing that's going on throughout the country. But, my focus, of course, is Maryland. So we're continuing to work to see how we can get, improved job training and things like that to help people that are in the homeless community gain skills so they can work and be able to take care of themselves. Thank you.
Okay. Next question. We're going to start with you, Mr. Mills. What should the City of Laurel do to get more Hispanic community members involved in government? they are not represented proportionally here today or in city government?
On November 5th, we'll see that they are represented because I represent them. And they actually helped me with my Espanol. And we work together as far as jobs, as far as training. We even give free training to those who, as far as giving them the housing that they're looking for, as far as the food. Actually, they asked me, Mills, if you become mayor, or when you become mayor, would you make this area a sanctuary city? And I say, definitely want to protect them. And so we work together, and they are on Main Street. My neighbor and business is from Guatemala. So, I mean, we work together every day, all day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Moe?
We've been trying to reach out more and more. We put more of our information in Spanish, and we have several employees here that are fluent in Spanish and have been able to help us greatly with that. When people call on the phones, we're able to have a translator that picks up the phone and it's able to speak Spanish to them if that's the case. So we are working hard. It's been very difficult. We are very, very concerned about the Hispanic community in particular when we talk about the census. When we want to make sure everyone is counted. So we are meeting with individuals from Prince George's County, and they've made a commitment to work with us to be able to get Hispanic community more involved.
Ms. Nicholas?
Well, I personally am looking to learn Spanish as an elected official to be able to communicate without an interpreter. And I'd also like to look at creating a multicultural committee that would invite in not only Hispanics, but all nationalities to come together to learn about each other's culture and to see what their needs are, and inviting them to council meetings and offering them volunteer opportunities to learn more about the functions of the city.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews?
Certainly, I think we need to reach out to more municipalities. Certainly, you take municipalities like Tacoma Park, Langley Park, big Hispanic communities. I think we should maybe reach out to them, find out what they've done to welcome the Hispanic community into the city government.
Rebuttal, please. On top of helping, I actually just got back from Mexico. When Bob called me up and said, "Hey Jeff, can you make this meeting?" I'm like, "Bob, I'll be gone for like several days." But I came back and couldn't finish the mission. But like I said, I'm not about talking. I'm about the action.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question. And we're going to start with you, Mr. Moe. Would you support opening the CRA to greater citizen accountability, including community involvement in setting its priorities and recommending properties for purchase? If yes, why? If no, why not?
The CRA does have open meetings. They're required to have open meetings. I have not been to one of their meetings in several months, but I do believe people can come and talk to them and give them ideas. The issue about the CRA is they think that there's an unlimited pot of money there. There is not. We gave them some seed money up front to start. They have purchased a couple properties where they've been able to turn around and sell them off to replenish the funds. So it's not where they have a whole lot of money to do a lot of different things with, and that's part of the issue I think they're grappling with. But all meetings are open. I think Councilmember Prairie, who is a former council member, is always open to listening to people and their ideas.
Mr. Matthews?
Certainly, keeping meetings open to the public is always a good thing. And I've been stressing this all night. The more we get our citizens of law involved into what we're doing here, the better I feel as though we will be. So certainly, when it comes to the CRA, keeping open meetings, welcoming people in, putting resources out there, putting ideas out there, letting the people know what's going on, I think we'll get a better commitment and a better result.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes, my response is yes. Inclusiveness. I believe to opening discussions and sharing ideas.
Mr. Mills?
I got a text for clarification of what is CRA for everyone.
I think I asked the community redevelopment.
Okay, thank you.
There was a previous question about the CRA. But
Oh,
go
okay.
ahead, sir.
Yeah, I missed that.
Mhm.
So as far as that, I think I want to use that in my closing. So I'm gonna let that pass.
Okay, thank you. And our last question for the evening, before we entertain closing remarks. And we're going to start, we'll start with you, Mr. Matthews. Do you support the idea of public officials sharing their taxes? Tax return, I'm sorry. That's a very different
What did you say,
question.
taxes or tax return?
As I said that, I thought, wow, okay, I only want to share them if you're going to help me pay them. Tax returns, I'm going to make that correction. I think that's what the submitter meant. So I repeat, do you support the idea of public officials sharing their tax returns?
Certainly, as a public official, I think I would support that being done, because when you take the office of a public official, you stand for integrity, you stand for honesty, so you're pretty much saying, I don't have nothing to hide. So I certainly support that.
Mr. Mills?
I support it as well.
Mr. Moe?
You're going to hear from my attorneys. People are more than welcome to look at my tax return. I don't have a whole lot, but they're more than welcome to look at it, and they can go back a few years if they want. I think the more that elected officials open up to the community and people know about the individuals. At one time we talked about doing for elected officials, we talked about doing a background investigation on people. We thought that was important. People came out and thought that. Didn't like that. Thought we would turn people away. We understood that. We respected it. And we didn't pass it. So I think that's important. The more and more that people know about their elected officials, the better they are.
Thank you.
My answer is yes.
I think that's the briefest answer we've gotten all night. So there is one more question that I've been asked to raise, and this will be the final question for the evening. And I think we'll start again. We'll start on this end and work our way down. What would you like to see the City Council do that it is currently not doing?
Well, nice that you should ask that question. One of the things that I said I'd like to do is I'd like to have city council. We do have the city in the parks. I would like to see council meetings in neighborhoods. I'd like to just go, from one neighborhood to the next, having council meetings, having our administration with us to be able to answer questions, whether it be about public works or senior services. But I'd like to see being out in the community even more than what we are.
Mr. Mayor.
Really not the council, because they do work hard. I think it would really, tonight, to look out in the audience and see all the people there, that's important for elected officials. It is important for a check and balance of government, a mayor and a city council, to have a check and balance. And when you see people in the audience and they're asking questions and they come and do testimony, that's important.
Mr. Mills?
If the council or the mayor and the council, while you're out and about, just as right now while we're out and about canvassing the neighborhoods, out on the corners and talking to the public, letting them know who you are, and instead of just posting a sign up. Oh, and speaking of signs, I guess you notice all my signs been either stolen or torn up, or they're not there anymore. So I just assure you that my people are not the ones that are doing such. And while the council is going or out and about, that gives them the opportunity. It doesn't have to be a meeting, but you go, just, hey, let's meet here, let's meet here, let's meet here. It doesn't have to be structured. You just, you go out, you meet the constituents, the citizens all through, the business owners as well, and possibly the building owners.
Thank you, Mr. Mills.
Thank you.
Mr. Matthews.
Certainly, I think we need to get out in the community and make the citizens aware of who we are. And I hate to beat this dead horse. I think the one thing that I would like to see the city council do that they're not doing is supporting the Laurel and Boys Girls Club. The Laurel and Boys Girls Club is an 80% African American owned club. And with all the great work that the club is doing, right now we have a world champion boxer from the City of Laurel, the first time ever. As of right now, he has not been approached by anyone on the council to give him any kind of award, any kind of handshake, of anything to say great job. I think with the way we're being attacked by our youth all over this nation, and when we're attacked every day, I work in a funeral home, I bury young people all the time. They're keeping young people safe. They're keeping them off the street. It's time for us to support our Laurel and Boys and Girls Club.
Thank you very much. I want to thank all of the candidates for the question and response period of this 2019 Candidates Forum. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to serve as your moderator. I am now going to turn the mic over to Bob for closing. Well, I'm sorry, I forgot the important closing statements, correct? So I apologize. So we started with Ms. Nicholas. We're going to start with you. 2-minute closing remarks.
Certainly, I'd like to once again thank the Board of Trade, Laurel Women's Club, and certainly you, the citizens, for coming out, and certainly to you, ma'am, for tonight. And as I said in my opening statement, being a Laurel native, being a lifelong resident for 50 years, I am the best candidate for the at-large position. Thank you.
Mr. Mills.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. And I wish to put a smile on your face when I become the mayor, and that is to work hard for you. We have a lot of issues that we need to bring about, but if we look around, the issue is one. When you look around, there's everybody is over 40, perhaps. What about the youth? We have to work with the youth. We have to take this message back. Good or bad, happy or sad, we have to take this message about to the children and share what's going on here. Because actually, I just want to be their example, because they're the next ones to come through these doors. They're the next ones to sit in these seats. So when we talk about education, we need to bring this about. And that's what I wish to do. I wish to work with the young. I wish to work with the old. And as far as on November 5th, I'm Jeffrey Mills. I wish to be your mayor. And I come with integrity. I come with hard working. I come with you to the City Hall. Thank you.
Mr. Mo.
Thank you again. And Ms. Hunter, thank you for a well-run, organized forum. To those here tonight and watching at home, you have witnessed many differences and many misunderstandings of what running a government is all about. My administration has accomplished much, and we will continue working hard to keep the City of Laurel beautiful, safe, and friendly for all to enjoy. This has been an accomplishment by us working together as a council and the community. This year's election, as in years past, gives every Laurel citizen the opportunity to cast a vote for the future direction of our city. In doing so, I ask that you carefully consider my integrity, innovation, and proven leadership that it's always fighting for Laurel. It has been a commitment to Laurel's residents. It's been my commitment to Laurel residents to make their government open, accessible, and transparent. That goal has been met each day here in City Hall, and it will continue under Mo administration. I will continue with these efforts of working together and moving Laurel forward. And I pledge to all residents that I will be prudent and responsible when we talk about budgeting your tax dollars, funding for community policing and retention of officers, providing jobs and workforce training, protecting the environment and investing in green technologies, expanding our organic recycling program. I'll fight for affordable housing and health care in our community. And you can learn more about my campaign if you'd like to by going to votemayormo.com. Thank you for this opportunity. I welcome your support and ask for your vote for Mayor Craig Moe. Let me also ask for your support and vote for a person who's dedicated to the community, who never speaks ill of the residents or its city employees, works with other council members to get things done, and is always working on issues facing the city. That clear choice is Councilmember Valerie Nicholas. No one else comes close. Thank you very much and have a good evening.
Ms. Nicholas.
Thank you. Thank you for those kind remarks. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to come and be with us tonight. For me personally, I run a clean campaign. I'm not into bashing people or speaking negative of people. Everybody's running their own race. I've poured my heart into this city serving people. I help people as much as I can. I'm very visible. I'm in the community, and it has truly been an honor to serve. I ask you to support me on November 5th for the at-large seat. Thank you.
Thank you all. Now, let me thank the candidates, and let me ask you to join me in thanking the candidates for another excellent 2019 Candidates Forum. Bob, the mic is yours.
So this concludes our candidate forum for this evening. I'd like to thank Pamela Hunter for an outstanding job and for her contributions this evening. Just fantastic. Also, Denise Redmond, thank you. Also, Sharon Mitchell from the Laurel's Women's Club, and also our signer, Carl Dupree, for his great work. And let's have a round of applause for our great candidates who have done a great job tonight. Very good. And we have some refreshments out in the lobby, so please go out there and help yourself. And you'll get a chance to talk to the candidates.